Do you remember what you were doing on April 3rd this year? Do you remember what you were doing 2 weeks ago today? I do. On April 3rd this year, I got kicked out of the local casino for betting too much. And on my way out, I bet the bouncer everything that I owned that I could hold my breath for 20 minutes. I lost. And 2 weeks ago today is when he came to collect it. That intro was definitely a little bit weird, so apologies. But I've actually kept a journal now for 120 days. And so I can actually remember back 120 days in the past, and I can remember each one of those 120 days if I read through the book. Journaling every day has actually had a very huge impact on me, and it's something that I didn't expect it to have since I kind of stumbled into actually journaling. And journaling has become a little bit trendy right now, or it has been for a few years, and I'm a little bit late to the party as per usual. Especially what I like to call productivity journaling. That's like porn for productivity geeks like me. And for this type of journaling, there are countless methodologies: bullet journal, dream journal, workout journal, food journal, etc., etc. And for me, scrolling through just inspirational journal layouts on Pinterest is very attractive. It's something that I feel personally very drawn to. Meticulous organization and structure. But then we also have the good old diary type of journaling, which is just write down whatever happened today. And there's no real structure, no planning, just write down whatever you think is worth writing down. And that's actually what I've now stumbled into doing for the last 120 days. So why did I actually start keeping this journal then? The reason was a little bit of an accident or a little bit coincidental. Back in April this year, I'd planned to take a vacation for the entire month. And the reason was that sea trout fishing season starts in April here in Sweden. And I wanted to spend the entire month outdoors in nature and just trying to catch these elusive creatures. And as I was doing that, I was thinking of ways to improve my fishing and just get better at catching them. So what I wanted to do was actually track everything that I could track. So track the weather, temperature, water temperature, wind conditions, wind direction. My plan was to write all of this down and also whether I caught fish or not, so that by the end of the month I would hopefully be able to analyze this and find a pattern. So that I can then become this like old wise fisherman who knows that in like, no, there's a strong northerly today, there's no use going out fishing. Or the opposite, where it's like, oh, this is a perfect southerly wind, there's clear skies, the fish will be biting today. So did I become the old wise fisherman, or gammelfiskan, as we say here in Sweden? Nope. But I did track all this stuff for a while. After around 2 weeks, I wasn't really fishing every single day, but I kept my journaling up. And I'm not really sure why I kept journaling, because at the start, the whole idea of the journal was simply to track my fishing and nothing else. I had no idea or no plan to actually start journaling or keeping a diary of my days. So for some reason, I kept journaling, and I felt this desire to keep up the trend of like making a journal entry every single day. I saw some benefits relatively early on, where I was able to look back at it and see exactly what had happened each day. Mind you that at the start, this was heavily weather and fish focused. Each entry was only a few lines, but by the end of 3 weeks, some of my entries were several pages long, and it essentially just escalated from there. And I started out with this like hardcover, little tiny fishing logbook. And I tried to keep some like drawings in there as well, like draw when I saw eagles, or when I caught some fish, or when I saw a badger running across the lawn. And I really liked this particular journal because this is small enough that I can actually fit it in my jeans pocket. So it's very easy to just carry with me. And the purpose of this first book was just to actually have it on my person as I was out fishing, so that I could literally like pull it out as I caught a fish, write down temperature, weather conditions, all that stuff. And this was very useful. But towards the end, when I was like writing a little bit longer entries, each day would be like 3 or 4 pages long, and sometimes even longer than that. And then this tiny book kind of felt like it was a little bit too small for actually what I was trying to do. After having done this for almost all of April, I really started seeing how incredibly valuable it is to keep a journal. It went from being a journal to just track fishing habits and patterns to being a diary for tracking my own life. And the way that for me I've been able to keep it up is that I don't push myself to write every single day, but I do push myself to, or I've made the commitment to write about every single day. So sometimes I do not write in the diary at all, but other days I will actually have to keep up, or catch up rather, on several days of not writing. I've gone long enough to be like, sometimes I've actually had to write 7 days worth of entries in one single day, which is not a good idea. I would recommend actually writing every single day. Some days I just don't have the time, or I don't take the time to do it, so I just don't write. But that's a way for me to just lower the stress about it. And that's been a way for me to just stick with it and continue to actually create a diary of every single day. Because if I put too much pressure on myself, I feel like I'm just gonna quit because it's gonna be too intense. I feel at times like it's getting there already, even though I'm not pushing myself to write every single day. Sometimes it feels like, do I really need to write about this? I feel the subconscious or like an underlying pressure on myself to write very detailed about every single day, and that sometimes takes way too long than what it should take. And I sometimes spend like 3-4 hours a day just writing, because first of all, because I've forgotten to write for a couple of days, so then I have to spend like a long time writing. But I don't know how sustainable that is. But right now for me, it seems like it is sustainable. I've been doing it for more than 120 days now, so I think it is sustainable, but it's definitely like right up there on the edge. All right, so now I'd just like to take a quick second to thank today's video sponsor, which is Brilliant. And Brilliant has been a great sponsor to me, and it's been a partner of the channel now for almost like I think it's more than 2 years now. And I really appreciate having them as a sponsor, because I try to look for high quality sponsors. They've been really great and provided you guys with a lot of really good discounts. And they have a course called Programming with Python, and this is the course that I would recommend that you check out. And if you use the link in my description, you get a 7-day free trial of Brilliant Premium, so you can check out their course completely free. And I think their course overall is just a really great way to start, especially if you're a visual learner, because their courses are really visual and hands-on. And I really can't recommend Brilliant enough, and I think they're a great place, especially if you're interested in learning about computer science, whether it is learning how to code, or whether you want to dive deeper into algorithm fundamentals or something like neural networks. So yeah, again, if you use a link in my description, you get a 7-day free trial of Brilliant Premium. And right now you also get a 20% discount on an entire year of Brilliant Premium. So go check that out at the link in the video description. And thank you again to Brilliant for being an awesome sponsor and a great partner to this channel. I'm not really the best at showing enthusiasm, so I don't think that my gusto about this will sell the concept enough, but I can show you why it has been incredibly valuable for me. So like I said at the start, if you think back to this exact day a month ago and try to figure out what happened that day, you, probably like me, will most likely not be able to remember what happened unless something out of the ordinary happened, like you were on holiday in the Maldives or something like that. The point isn't if you can remember that specific day. The point is that if you go far enough back, you will find days that you don't remember. And the scary thing to me about that is that those are actually days that you have been alive, but that you don't remember. You have no memory of that day. And so keeping a diary to me is a way to kind of increase my perceived lifespan, if that makes sense. Because by keeping a log of every single day, I will actually be able to remember every single day. So far I've been able to do it, even though it's only been 120 days. But I think that if I keep this up for years and years, I will probably be able to remember a lot more of my life than what I will be able to remember if I don't keep a diary. And that, I think, is one of the most valuable things about keeping a diary or a journal. And I don't know if this is actually important, or if this actually has an impact in the grand scheme of things of an entire lifetime, but to me, it's something that definitely seems to have a lot of value. And it's something where if I look back at those 120 days, I can remember every single day vividly. And that's not because of my incredible memory, which I assure you is definitely incredible. No, but it's because I actually have written down, maybe even in too much detail, what happened every single day. So I can just look back at it and read through it, and all the memories just come back to me in such a like vivid way. It's very difficult to describe it, but it's something that definitely it increases my ability to sort of remember those days, if that makes sense. Whereas if I just try to remember back to whatever day it was, then it's very difficult for me to conjure up or like imagine what actually happened and what it looked like, where I was, and all those sort of things. And so to me, this makes my life feel more significant, and not in the way that it feels like it has more purpose or more significance to anyone else, but just in the way that it is more significant to me. If I try to look back at some random day of the last 4 months, I won't necessarily remember what happened, and so the natural feeling and assumption about that day is that nothing really special happened. What I've seen through keeping this diary is that something has happened every day that's actually worth remembering, insignificant to others, significant to me. And so I think that keeping a diary can actually increase our perceived lifespan. If we look back at just like the past week in a macro perspective, then it usually feels like the week just flew by, and it feels like, what did I even do this week? Like, how did this just pass so fast? But reading back through an account of every single day of that week actually makes the week feel just like almost like a year long. So I actually think that our memory of our life is quite bad, but it is actually very important. For me, actually reading back through my diary increases my gratitude towards the life that I'm living, even though that might sound a little bit corny. I feel incredibly grateful for the little things that have happened. It might sound a little bit like I'm exaggerating, but I'm really not. And it's not like I'm reborn with gratitude every single day. But it's just that when I read through these things, I just feel a lot more grateful about the life that I'm living and about the things that are happening. And I would say that my overall happiness definitely increases when I read through my diary. I may have like a super low threshold to gratefulness or something. That is possible, but I don't really think so. And this is after only having done this for 4 months. Right now, I'm super excited about the idea of having done it for a whole year, or imagine even like 10 years. Imagine how much you would actually be able to remember. It would be completely incredible. And so yeah, if you kept the diary yourself, then maybe let me know in the comments what it's been like and what your experience has been like. I'm very new to this, so maybe you've done it for longer and you can give us some of your experience. I think that's always very interesting. And yeah, hope I'll see you in the next one.